New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has been under a lot of fire recently for supposedly being involved in the intentional lane closing on the George Washington Bridge. How exactly does this affect your business? Well, Governor Christie's behavior is a perfect example of how important ethics are in the role of shaping your company image. Hey guys, welcome to Ideas Made Easy, where we take creative business ideas and teach you how to use them to revolutionize your company. But let's stray away from the politics for a second and talk about the idea of transparency in business. When a company is transparent with their customers, their level of trust increases and the brand becomes empowered. Mistakes are to be expected for most companies, but making mistakes isn't always the problem. What customers have grown to expect from a company is not perfection, but proactiveness. Customers will support a company that can fess up to their mistakes and always take appropriate action in their best interest. In the late 1970s, Ford released the Ford Pinto, a car with an engine in the back instead of the front. Over the next few years, there had been a number of accidents involving rear-end collisions causing the engine in the car to explode. Although Ford had access to a newer and safer design, they chose not to implement it because doing so would mean they'd have to spend an extra $11 on every car unit. But Ford defended themselves, saying they used an appropriate risk-benefit analysis that allowed them to calculate the monetary cost of each car versus the value of a human life. In this case, Ford knew the risk involved for its customers, but chose not to be transparent with that information. When companies hide their true intentions from customers and then get exposed, they can immensely hurt their public image, similar to what Governor Chris Christie has done. When handling mistakes, you have to take a short-term loss in order to deliver a long-term benefit. This was the case for Johnson and Johnson when, in 1982, 7 containers of Tylenol were mysteriously injected with cyanide and then sold on shelves to customers. For Johnson and Johnson, this was a nightmare. Tylenol was one of their flagship products, amounting for over 15% of their company profit. But the ethical solution that Johnson & Johnson knew they had to take was by removing all the Tylenol containers from the shelves and by spending time to develop a better solution to prevent tampering. The stock prices for Johnson & Johnson dropped tremendously over the next few years, but in that time they had developed a new standard for tamper-proof packaging. By acting quickly and being transparent, Johnson & Johnson had not only regained the trust of their customers, but they had successfully rebuilt their brand after the disaster. What companies can learn from the recent Governor Chris Christie backlash is that by covering up your negative actions and behaviors, you risk losing authenticity with your customers. If your company finds themselves in the middle of a disaster, the best solution is to be quick to respond, be honest, and be ready to bear the short-term cost in order to gain long-term trust with your customers. Here's a challenge that you should take some time to think about. What is your company's strategy for transparency? Share your creative ideas and solutions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe for more engaging videos. Also, check out our blog at getcourse.com/blog to learn all about the creative things happening in the business world. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you next week. Bye.